Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX. I'm Rishabh Gulati, and we have a special guest to have a special conversation. The 52nd Chief Justice of India, Justice Gawai. Mr. Justice, welcome to you.
Namaskar.
I want to start this interview a little bit differently, sir. There's a photograph on the wall in your office. I've been looking at it for some time. It's of your father, who was a member of parliament. He was a governor. How is it that a young son decided judiciary and jurisprudence is the career direction, not politics?
See, I started practice in 1985, and initially I had some inclination towards politics. But then in 1990, I saw the Republican Party of India was united, and it was split into splinter groups. And that was a moment which turned my decision, and then I decided that I will concentrate on my practice. And even after that, whenever my father used to contest elections, I used to go for his campaigns. But after 1990, I decided that I would not, politics is not for me.
That the road from Amravati has led to force to become Chief Justice of India. I'm sure your father would be really proud. Who has been one of your biggest inspirations, and which you feel would serve as an inspiration for the country?
Well, the biggest inspiration, of course, has been Dr. Sahib Ambedkar, and then my father also. My father was an ardent follower of Dr. Sahib Ambedkar and his ideology. And I've grown up with the ideology of Dr. Sahib Ambedkar. In my house, Dr. Ambedkar was the most talked about person, his philosophy, his work for upliftment of downtrodden, his contribution to the Constitution. That all inspired me in my life.
Yeah, because as we're sitting, I can see statues and books of Mr. Ambedkar everywhere. You've spoken on this, sir. What do you think that a B.R. Ambedkar would have felt about the abrogation of 370, which was a bench decision which you sat on?
According to me, Dr. Ambedkar would have been the most happiest person. Because if you read his debates in the Constituent Assembly, he was always for a united India. If you read his debates on federal structure of the Constitution, he described that the Indian federal system is not unlike the American Federation. He stated that in America, there are two constitutions, one constitution for the federation and one constitution for the state. So also in America, there is a dual citizenship, a citizenship of USA as well as the citizenship of the state where one resides. But he said that in India, we will have a united country. We will have only one constitution. We will have only one citizenship, single citizenship, not a citizenship of India as well as citizenship of Maharashtra, citizenship of Andhra Pradesh. And he also stated that whenever the dignity of the nation arises for consideration, the dignity of the nation is paramount. The dignity of the individual, the dignity of the political parties, the dignity of political ideologies do not matter when the dignity of the nation is involved. So by the 370 decision, we gave an end, or rather we affirmed there was only one state which was having a constitution for the state. And therefore, the Dr. Ambedkar's philosophy of one nation, one constitution was brought into effect.
6 years later, sir, there's a position which you have to take on constitutional matters to, as you've already mentioned, both in your ruling as you've told us. But 6 years later, as citizen, Gawai, as a citizen of India, when you look at Kashmir and the developments that are going on there, the infrastructure building, the people, the movie theaters have restarted, sports has restarted, this livelihood that is coming back to what we would qualify as normal. What do you feel? What's your hope for Jammu?
No, I'm sure that one day I've been to Jammu and Kashmir even after I took over as the CJI and got earlier also. I'm sure that Jammu and Kashmir is a part of the India, and one day there will be a complete integration. We have seen that in some of the northern, eastern states also. There is some problems earlier. But now I've traveled very widely to the northeastern states, and there's a complete integration. The same thing will happen to Jammu and Kashmir.
Let's come back to recent and unhappy events, sir. I mean, you've been living in Delhi for a long period of time. I'm sure you were as shocked as all of us of what happened outside the Red Fort a few weeks ago. We've learned a lesson from this, sir, and the lesson is that even educated young professionals can at times be brainwashed and radicalized. As a country, I mean, there's a legislative response, but what do we do as a country?
It's really shocking that the educated people like doctors, engineers, rather than utilizing their expertise and serving the nation, get brainwashed in certain things. And the Supreme Court also stood along with the entire country in the moment of a grief. You may recollect that on the same day we had reference for senior lawyers who had passed away in the recent past. So we also paid tribute from the court, in the court number 1, to the ones who were also became victims of the unfortunate incident, and observed silence in their memory also. I think country will have to stand as united to fight terrorism. Terrorism has no place in any civilized country.
I think that's well put. There is an ever-present issue in Delhi, sir. As you know, you've been, as I mentioned, here for several years in your tenure, both in the Supreme Court there as Chief Justice. It's the air we breathe. Now, this has been a matter of a lot of conversation, a lot of guidance which has come from the courts. For many citizens, it seems that public interest matters like this generally come from the courts because the political system sometimes, legislative system, does not respond effectively. What can we do, sir? Year after year, we are suffering.
The courts have been doing their beat, with the series of orders passed in MC Mehta. The court has been regularly passing orders. I have been a part of that bench. And I thought that in the recent orders, last of the orders that I passed, the problem we have seen that whenever there is a Diwali coming or winter coming and the problem of the air quality becoming very poor and severe comes up, we get up and start passing the orders. So therefore, I have passed an order directing that all the stakeholders to be taken on board, direct to the MOE of Ministry of Environment and Forest of Union of India to have regular follow-up meetings and to evolve a policy, to evolve a mechanism wherein rather than getting up at the last moment, we could start preventing measures throughout the year. And I also directed that the matter would come up every month so that the court monitors. Let's hope that something comes out of it.
Hopefully, sir, it's probably the biggest issue for all people with of a certain age and especially with children. Let's take back to the starting of your tenure as Chief Justice. There was a circumstance that had happened just previous to that in the case of Justice Verma. The Supreme Court showed great transparency for the first time ever. Things were published overnight on actions that were being taken and reports and internal investigations that were being done. Now the matter, of course, is with PULP. What's the lesson? What's the precedent that's been set in terms of the response?
It is an unfortunate incident. See, when it happened, I and Justice Suryakant were in Kenya for a conference, and the Honorable Chief Justice of India, then Justice Sanjeev Khanna, had informed about the incident to us. I think he has taken an immediate action on that. Now, the process as prescribed under the law has to take its place. And it is being taken place. I think the inquiry is going on by the inquiry committee under the chairmanship of a sitting judge of this court.
Sir, there is a conversation that happens in the country, and of course, when you're sitting in office, it's a different one. But now that we have an opportunity to talk, for people who say that the judiciary is pressurized and under influenced, are you confident? Can you say that no, that doesn't happen? That you are making your own independent discipline as a pillar of government in India?
Yes, of course. The Constitution stands on the doctrine of separation of powers. All the three wings are supposed to exercise their powers within the spheres allotted to them. And I can say without any hesitation that the judiciary in India is independent, fearlessly independent. And I don't think that any judge is pressurized to decide the matter in a particular way. For that matter, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that the judge, to show his independence, has to decide all the matters against the government. And if the judge doesn't decide all the matters against the government, he is not an independent judge. You decide the case on the basis of the facts of each case, according to the position of law that you have. And if you go through my various judgments, orders, the government might have succeeded in some of the matters. The government has lost in many matters.
Yes, electoral bonds is an example. The issue of bulldozers.
Bulldozer justice, many of the high-profile bail matters wherein I granted bail, then with regard to one of the members of parliament disqualification in a defamation case. Last of the judgments which I delivered was quashing and setting aside an enactment with regard to the service conditions of the tribunals.
Yes, and of course that recently presidential references is something that you've done very recently and ruled on as well. So the judiciary itself, with generally it is considered that the patency of cases, the amount of work that is required, the vacancy that happens in various courts at various levels. What are the priorities that you feel that need to be addressed?
I think filling up of the vacancies at all the levels of the judiciary, right from the trial judiciary to the district judiciary to the high court, should be taken into on a priority basis. For example, I can share with you that during my tenure, we had appointed around 107 judges to the various high courts, 24 to Allahabad High Court, then 14 to Bombay High Court, then more than 10 in Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. So we have noticed that wherever these vacancies have been filled up, the work has started rolling very fast. The judges were required to sit up to 7 o'clock in the evening or so. They can rise at that time. The matters are moving. The matters are being decided. So the time that takes in the appointment of judges, I think if the timelines are followed, like in this case, we could get the appointments cleared very rapidly. As a matter of fact, some of the judges, some of the cases which were pending right from 2023 have been cleared. And we are also using AI for categorization of the cases, classification of the cases, so that a large number of cases are put together. And on a common issue, they can be decided.
On the procedure of appointment of judges, is that matter, it become difficult, contentious a few years ago? Is it settled or does it require further conversation?
According to me, the collegium system is working well. The allegation that there is a lack of transparency or there is opaqueness is, according to me, not a valid allegation.
For a lot of young people who are coming into the legal profession, what would your advice be? What do you remember as when you were starting out, that the lessons that you've learned now in this law world, what would you tell these young lawyers?
See, in the recent past, there was a trend that the young lawyers would get attracted to the corporate law. I would like to tell them that the real charm, the real fun lies in the litigation. No doubt that the initial days are somewhat difficult for one to survive. But if you survive and if you grow up, there is nothing as challenging as the litigation. The happiness that you get by winning even simple cases, like I remember when I was a lawyer, getting a woman was fighting for her house allotted to her by the housing board. For 3, 4, 5 years, she couldn't get it, and the moment I succeeded in the court, that the amount of satisfaction that one got is enormous. I still recollect in my earlier days in 1985, a young boy belonging to among the most downtrodden in the scheduled caste, Mehtar community. He was fighting for getting an admission to the medical college. And I succeeded in that case, and he became the first doctor from the Mehtar community. These are the small things which give happiness to the litigant as well as to you, and in such matters, the money hardly matters.
When the moment comes, let's say you gone into litigation, and then you have a choice whether to continue your practice and stay a lawyer, become a senior advocate, and appear before and judges, or to go into the judicial. The attraction, of course, is public service. You can make more wages as a lawyer than as a jurist. So for people who are probably in that conundrum, who've done law for maybe a decade, are thinking now, why did you pick the judicial service?
You know, I would only give an answer in a sentence. When I was finding it difficult to make a choice whether to join judiciary or to continue practice. So my father told me that if you continue to practice, you will earn scores of money. But if you become a judge, you can be an instrument in a little way in following Dr. Ambedkar's ideology of giving social and economic justice to the citizens of this country. And that was a moment of a decision.
What is the satisfaction now that you feel in the cases that you mentioned of the little wins and the broader legacy that gets left behind, that the imprint of your time in the courts at the High Court level, in the Bombay High Court, now the Supreme Court, then as Chief Justice?
So it's an enormous amount of satisfaction as a lawyer as well as a judge. Let's give some instances. When I was a government pleader in Nagpur, court had directed that all the slums should be demolished within 8 days in the Nagpur district. And it was a huge problem. The law and order problem would have arisen, so the Chief Minister requested me to personally handle the matter. We challenged it in the Supreme Court. We got stay of the order, then thereafter various orders were passed by the Supreme Court. And the satisfaction of saving those houses, those people, they're protecting their shelter. We say that a right to shelter is a fundamental right. And then down the line, after 22 years, when I'm retiring as a Chief Justice of India, I could pay in a judgment with regard to Jurpi jungles in the Vidarbha region, wherein the houses of all these persons residing in the slums could be regularized, while at the same time balancing the environmental issues, protecting and promoting the forests. Such matters, then the matters which environment is also very dear to me. In the last 3 years, when I was presiding over the Green Bench, I have penned down around 18 judgments in order to protect the environment, protect the ecology, protect the wildlife. Apart from passing several orders over the 3 years, then matters like the judicial reforms, I have passed various judgments with regard to judicial reforms in the last 6 months. So these are the matters which benefit the society at large, benefit the country at large, and the satisfaction which you gain is getting such matters. I think no amount of money can match with that.
Okay, so our time is limited. So I have 2 questions. One on the serious note. As a judge, especially on constitutional matters, when laws come up and are challenged, what is then the yardstick? Are you the believer in the basic structure yardstick, or do you look at case by case in terms of where it fits constitution?
Like it has been said in the cases of in Dhanvantari Devi, the Supreme Court, even with slight distinction of facts, the same application of law may result to divergent results. So each case has to be decided on the facts of each case. So whether a particular law is violative of any constitutional provisions, is contrary to the constitutional mandate or not, that can be considered only after considering the case independently. There can't be any straitjacket formula.
Before you wind up, sir, what's your favorite place to visit when you finally get a break from this? Where do you like to travel to?
Of course, to the forests.
You like to travel the forest areas? Any favorite places you have? You like the sanctuaries?
I have been, when I was a lawyer, when I was practicing at Nagpur, I used to frequently visit Tadoba, then Pench, Kana, Bandhavgarh. So for the last 6 years, it has not been possible for me to go, though I have been going to Ranthambore and Corbett also. So.
Yes.
And the other, I like the hills as well as I like the sea also.
So you have a great.
I like nature.
What is Justice Gawai's favorite food? Is it a Marathi dish from childhood?
Of course, Maharashtrian food.
Maharashtrian food is your favorite. What's been your favorite movie growing up? What did you like watching when you were younger?
As a young boy going in the college, I used to see all the movies.
Right.
Yeah, all the Dharmendra movies, Amitabh Bachchan movies, and but for last 6 years, I have not been in a position to.
Bit tougher. Yeah, when so people think that the judges are in breaks, they're actually having to write these judgments. So there's no such thing as a summer break.
No summer break. In fact, I have been traveling every weekend. So whenever I was traveling out of Delhi, I had a judgment to correct, and whenever I was coming back to Delhi on the flight on Sunday evenings, the files on the iPad to read for Monday, and more than half of our time goes in writing the big judgments.
So coming from a family, as we started the interview, let's end it there. Father's member of parliament became governor. The son became Chief Justice of India. Next generation, what advice does one give? What role does one play in guidance, or do we let them decide for themselves?
No, I think every individual has to take his own choice. But only one thing I would like to request the younger generations, and no doubt that everyone has to live for himself. Everybody has to make a career for himself. But he must also contribute in whatever they way for the society, for the country.
Justice Gawai, thank you for your service to this country, and thank you for joining us for this call.
Thank you. Thank you.